to introduce some bills that'll take it easy on the people biking in Tampa. So send your prayers up for us for a safe trip and a safe trip back. That's 20. Also on March 19th, Rise Beach is doing a community block party, and we're looking for a couple of vendors to come out and support, bring our community together. It's going to be at Sour Spring Park on a Martin Luther King.
Hey, Paul. Hey, Doctor Pastor Fruster.
Good morning.
We're live right now, so we're just waiting to go on live on the station.
Okay, but they can't hear us, right?
Not on the radio, but everywhere else.
Oh, okay.
I'll keep the comments to myself.
Yes. They post a new call-in number.
Go out to the food truck
For WTMP?
Yep.
The march is starting.
Oh, okay.
At 11 o'clock. They're headed to Penny Harbor Park. There's going to be vendors. There's going to be food trucks. You go out there and network. You probably can find some folks that want to be a part of this event.
Like brother was saying, man, our community needs to come together. With this power in numbers, as long as we at each other's throats, there's nothing gonna happen. And again, for the community, we cannot open new doors with old keys. We have to change the guard and move forward in a positive way together.
And learn how to pick our battles, learn how to pick and choose, because there's always going to be a battle. As the Bible says, the poor will be with always, but it does not mean we should not be the poor. So learn what battles we need to be on as black folks in this community.
I offer Masjid al-Nasr as a place, off camera, off YouTube, off Facebook, and all parties involved, yourself and others. Let's meet at Masjid al-Nasr. Let's meet and let's have a closed-door, frank conversation. And let's get it over with. Let's build a bridge and get over it so that we can, you have to be willing to come. So we put the offer out. Sister Michelle, Patty, and others who I know involved, I'll reach out to you because I know you're listening. Let's meet at al-Nasr with no cameras, nothing there. And let's have a good old-fashioned heart-to-heart come to Jesus talk.
Amen.
How about what?
Next week, we're going to have...
About them taking up our time on the show.
You need
Exactly.
The new studio request line and call-in number is 888-247-8712. That's 888-247.
And why they change the calling line?
WTMP.
Don't know.
Please call 813-725-WTMP. That's 813-725-9867.
Bay Area, get ready. Saturday, February 19th at the St. Pete Coliseum, starting at 10:30 a.m. Loving My Hair exclusive and the Pinellas Technical College presents The Natural Experience. It's the 7th annual Natural Hair
Excuse
Health.
me. Y'all can hear me sniffing.
Yes, from DH1.
I'm sorry.
Yandy Smith Harris, that's right. Yandy will be. It's the 7th annual Natural Hair Health and Beauty Expo, Saturday, February 19th at the St. Pete Coliseum. Workshops include financial literacy, fitness, and home ownership. Food trucks.
Well, I'm drinking my coffee.
Information.
I said, this is my cup. It says, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference.
Hey, I'm good, and you, sir?
Good.
Robin Lockett, listen to the Call for Help show with attorney Paul Rebein every Saturday morning and right here on WTMP. And if you need a personal injury attorney, call the Rebein Brothers PA at 813-305-7285. 813-305-7285.
Serving Tampa Bay since 1954. The Heritage Station. WTMP, Egypt Lake, Tampa, Clearwater, 97.5 in Pinellas.
The views, opinions, and conclusions on this radio broadcast are solely the views of this particular program and its hosts. The views and opinions expressed on this broadcast does not reflect or represent the views of WTMP, its officers, staff, or advisors.
Good morning and welcome to the Call for Help show. I'm your host, attorney Paul Rebein. Also here with me in the studio are Pastor Brenda, Fruster, and Robin Lockett. How are you guys this morning?
Hey, good morning. Doing good.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. We were off the air last week. We gave up our time to allow listeners to call in and ask questions of the proposed new police chief. And there's been a stir of controversy ever since. And it's looking like the proposed new police chief's may be in jeopardy of not being confirmed or approved or whatever you want to call it by the city council. So that's what we're going to talk about today. If you'd like to give us a call, the new dial-in number 888-247-8712. There was a story in the Tampa Bay Times front page this morning that adds a little more to the drama, which is that she's already been hired.
We found that out through city council, the meeting on Thursday afternoon. I was listening to it, and it kind of like seeped in. She's on payroll or she's doing something, and the one council said, "Wait, what?"
Okay, yeah. If I were on the city council, I don't know how I would feel about that. It's almost as if the mayor seems to think that she doesn't need their approval, or they should just approve whoever she puts up there. And I guess we're going to find out if the city council has a little backbone and push back on the mayor. What do you think about it, Pastor?
Well, I think they should push back. They have a very legitimate reason to push back, with all due respect to the office of the mayor. But the law is the law. So there's a greater respect to the law than it is to the office. And so the law is in effect. You have to be confirmed before taking or being assigned to a role or position, especially if you're being paid. You can volunteer if you want to. I cannot stop you from volunteering in that position. But as a taxpayer, if you have been assigned in that position and you've not been confirmed according to the rules and standards, the law that has been set up, you are in an illegitimate position.
I noticed on the a Facebook post that the city put out where she was appearing somewhere, they called her chief already.
Wow.
So yesterday I attended Chloe Coney's the unveiling of her legacy wall, and Mayor Castor identified her as the chief.
Wow.
I was like, whoa.
I guess we're going to find out.
Wow.
Give us a call, 888-247-8712, the new dial-in number, if you have some thoughts about this. But I agree, we have the law, we have the charter. It provides for this process. The mayor has a lot of power outside of this arena. This is one area where the city council is supposed to have input. And I think it's a blunder. I think it's disrespectful for the mayor to just sort of assume that her person is going to be confirmed when the community hasn't totally weighed in, and the city council especially hasn't had a chance to give their approval.
I think that's the important part of it. I think that there's a lot of and there's a lot of pushback on this. Not only so this ain't a black thing, this ain't a white thing, this is everybody's thing, because everybody's calling city council and letting them know that this is not the person that they want to become the chief. But I think even if there's a gray area.
Hold up, Robin. We got a caller on the line. Caller.
Why you want to cut me off? No, I'm just teasing.
I think this might be an important caller. Caller, welcome to the Call for Help show.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you all this morning? This is Reverend Coffee. I have a comment. Didn't mean to cut nobody off, but
Thank you, Reverend Coffee.
It's time now for the black community. It's time now for the black community to stand up and let this mayor know. My mama told me years ago, say, what's in you coming out you. Listen here, you got our vote. If you running for mayor again, you through. We're not giving you our vote. Black folk ought to put that back in her face. You can't get our vote no more. They know this wrong. Now we got to take a stand as black people. We too easily sold out by folk. Listen here, you ain't buying me out. You ain't buying me out. Our vote means something. We put the mayor in there. Now it's time to take her out. She know this lady ain't supposed to be in there. I believe that black woman down there on the East Coast would be a good choice. It's black people, it's black police people all over the country that are great.
All right.
From LA to New York City. That's right. It's time now. We let this city, Tampa, Florida, know. Listen here, we ain't backing up no more. We ain't got nowhere to go.
All
we
right.
ain't got nowhere to stay. We in the worst condition now we ever been in.
Thank you,
We
caller.
ain't backing
Thank
up.
you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you, Reverend
Reverend.
Coffee.
We got one of the city council members on the line right now. Luis Vieira, are you there on the phone?
Yes.
Hey,
Yes,
welcome,
I am.
welcome to the Call for Help show. Tell us your thoughts about what's happening.
Oh, hey guys, good to be on here. Robin had asked me to call in and whatnot. And how's everybody doing?
Good.
We're doing great,
Good morning,
Councilman
sir.
Vieira.
Yeah, we were just talking about the proposed police chief and how it seems like the mayor is just assuming that the city council is going to approve her and has hired her and has in public called her chief. What are your thoughts about this situation?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, if you compare what's happening now to the statement that there weren't going to be any anticipated problems, there's obviously a gap there, and I think the gap certainly speaks for itself. You know, what I say on this issue is that this is what I call the discovery process. We're discovering information on Mrs. O'Connor, on the process, et cetera. There are certain things that we, as elected officials, I don't think we should opine on at this time with regards to the ultimate vote, but there are certain things that we should opine on, which is that there is an unprecedented amount of interest, and interest is, putting it diplomatically, in the nominee, Mrs. O'Connor, right, for police chief. And that it's incumbent upon us to engage in the community. It's incumbent on Mrs. O'Connor to engage in the community 110%, because to the extent that maybe the process wasn't as good as it should have been, and I think everybody essentially agrees on that, right? They can mitigate that by going into the community, into all of the community, including parts, especially, like I said in the paper yesterday, they got to go into the fire, places that have a lot of questions on her. They got to go in there and take the heat, right? And take the heat. That's part of what being a police chief is about. So I have faith that they're going to be doing that.
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Are you going to vote for her?
He's in the discovery process.
You know, I've been asked that. Yeah, and that's totally cool. You know, that's a good question. I don't know at this time. I don't think there's two sides to that. Number one, I don't know. But number two, I don't think it's proper to say whether or not you're going to vote for her at this time. I think that before, you know, this nomination and all the different issues that have arisen with it, a lot of people say whenever a mayor nominates somebody for a position like this, that there's, you know, certain presumptions that arise. That there has been so much public interest in this issue, right? That you got to apply scrutiny. What I tell people whenever they ask me that is, I promise to be fair, I promise to be reasonable, I promise to apply a lot of scrutiny, and I promise to go into the community and engage with folks on it, which I think is the most important thing that somebody can do in a situation like that. So I think that only one council member has said where they may be going. I think the rest of us are saying, listen, and this individual, I'm sure, is going to say this too, but that, hey, listen, we're all going to see what the facts bring out, because, you know, that's the reasonable thing to do.
So, Councilman Vieira, you said something that was real interesting during the conversation with Mr. Bennett. I don't know, Chief of Staff Bennett or whatever, but about all of the phone calls that you have been getting. And that's when you made the suggestion, you know, look, have her go out. And if once she goes out, I guess in regards to what you should have done to begin with, I'm not sure what the process is, but if your constituents are still calling in and I guess still calling in saying no, that would be, you would take that in consideration because you're still
absolutely.
getting, okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's that's certainly parts of the elements of what we look at, which is community involvement, et cetera. And I certainly think that's very, very important. But again, the big issue is there's still a lot of information that's coming out on Mrs. O'Connor, right? And I don't mean anything like bad or good or whatever, just her presentation, her story, her journey, et cetera. So again, for me to say where I'm going to be voting at this time would be, you know, in my opinion, for me, for Luis Vieira, very, very irresponsible. However, what I can do is tell the administration what they should be doing, right, to have the process that I want to see go through for any sort of a vote on this, because, you know, the rules that used to apply to issues like this have shifted, where I think there's a lot more scrutiny on things like this, and we're right as a council and as a city to apply scrutiny on that. But again, it's incumbent upon them to engage the community vigorously to the level that scrutiny is warranted, which is very, very vigorous.
So let me ask a question. I'm sorry, Paul. Let me ask a question. So I think this has been done backwards, right? Because if she's being presented as the chief and she's going out to build a consensus through the community, throughout the community, I mean, what are next steps? When should the mayor or when should that office present this person to the council? And how many days, what's the process after she's presented to the council? Because that was talked about during the meeting also.
Yeah, and that's a really good question. There's charter issues on that. And I think someone on council said that that's maybe something that we should look at, where there's a nominee, right, for a position, then they're confirmed by council, but in the meanwhile, they get to be the nominee. That's never really been an issue before because there's never been such scrutiny and controversy applied to somebody. So I think this is a real learning situation, I think, for all of us. But again, my big thing is that before this decision was made to proceed, there obviously needed to be a certain level of community engagement, which when I say it wasn't there because look at the community response, right? Look at the community response. And I hope that they'll take advantage of this time to do that community engagement. You know, and by going on radio shows, going to visit civic associations and churches, but especially places that have questions, really acute, caustic questions about her nomination, right? That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see. That for me is really, really critical.
So so it doesn't matter that this person is being identified as the chief, and how long does she go on the speaking tour? Does this last for 30 days, 6 months, and then she eases into the position because she's already identified as the chief?
Yeah, that's a good question. 90 days is my understanding of what the charter says once this step is taken. Whether they're going to be bringing this, you know, to council sooner or later, I'm really not sure at this point. I can't opine on that. But again, through an imperfect process, I hope that they take advantage of this situation to put her in places where there are questions. You know, I think that the best elected officials are or public officials are the kind of folks who go into situations with people where tough questions are going to be asked, right? Or with people that they disagree with, right? So that they can either reach common ground, have a dialogue, or, you know, have some sort of a better understanding of one another. And that's what I want to see happen with Mrs. O'Connor. And I'm very hopeful that it will happen, because that's got to be part of the process.
Well, wonderful. Thank you, Councilman Vieira, for taking the time to call in and give us your input on this issue. Any other thoughts? We've got another caller, but give you the last word.
And if I may say something,
sure.
Oh, just really quick, if I may, anybody who has any opinions on this, I'm getting a lot of emails. Please email me, louis.vieira@tampagov.net, and I'm responding to everything on the police chief, because that's pivotal. But listen, I got to go to this Allen Temple march. God bless you guys. I appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you,
Thank
Councilman.
you, Louis.
Hey, before we take the caller, I like something that Dee Wilkins said out there on Facebook. She said, community consensus is terribly important. And that's one of the missing keys that we have here. The community has not been able to engage, to vote. And just from a biblical term, the Bible makes it very clear that despite the stigma that's often associated with politics, God calls and uses political leaders. And so when we look at this, when you come in deceitfully, you serve deceitfully. If you have been appointed correctly, then we can see some integrity here. But without that community consensus, without the votes properly being made, in my view, you are not an official chief of police.
Because the consensus would have been the 3 candidates. That's, and then in all transparency, I was invited to the meet and greet of those 3 individuals, but I was out of town. I was in California at the time. So the question was, you know, why, and I'm not sure what the setup was. I just wasn't able to make it because I was out of town. Was it open, you know, was the community, anybody able to attend? I'm not sure about that. But what you're saying is very true. The consensus, and people are speaking out now that they didn't have the opportunity to be involved in the process.
Okay, we got another caller. Caller, welcome to the Call for Help show.
Yes, good morning, peace and blessings.
Good morning.
I want to say that the meet and greet was by invitation only. So the community, the whole community was not afforded the opportunity to bring forth issues that evening. Secondly, Ms. O'Connor is the chief by the decisions of the mayor. She's doing the day-to-day operations now. But what it shows me is the weakness of the council and by way of the charter and the way it's set up. What was also revealing is that if in 90 days, that if the council is not on board, the mayor has the power to keep presenting Mrs. O'Connor until their arms are bent or they make a decision. So how do the community get anything from Mrs. O'Connor's will probably, if more than 99%, be the chief of police. But how do we repair the damage done when Mrs. O'Connor was a captain, a corporal, a lieutenant, when we have had major issues where African Americans was impacted by the decisions, whether she was the chief then or not? She was part of the rotation that allowed, say, the biking wild blight. How do we fix that? How do the mayor, Mrs. O'Connell, and the council have the kind of courage to say, you know what? We're going to go back by resolution and we're going to march down to the state attorney's office and remove all the biking wild blight citations and make sure that don't appear on people's records. It has to be more than a conversation. We don't care if she smiled, how she combed her hair. We want to know, how do we repair the damage that was done under her leadership at the time prior to being a captain? The multifamily crime bill, what was her input on that? So the resolution for me would not be how many radio programs she's gonna be on, but how do we repair the damage that has been done as a result of her participation as a police officer in that whole thing called TPD and its terrible relationship with the Black community. That's what I'm looking for. Because it don't matter who the chief is, if the practice against Black people always come out to be so egregious.
Yeah.
That's the call. What can we do to repair the damage? Not talking about moving forward. No, we want to step back in time and say that, yes, it was wrong, more than just in words, but by resolution and removing those citations and arrests off of people's records. Thank you so much.
That's great.
Those were good points. You know, she's referring to biking while Black, which did happen at the time. Ms. O'Connor was, I think, the assistant chief of police.
Oh, she was. See, when she was on the show, it was just so interesting. I had more questions because of the show. with her answers. That's what got me. I said, she shouldn't, you know, but what's interesting is that when she was, nobody should come into the Black community and be asked a question about biking while Black and not have an answer. I don't know what I was doing. I don't know where I was. I don't know what rank I was. You know, nobody should come in the Black community because they know that question is going to be asked. And just my last thing, I know I'm taking up a lot of space today. I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday, and they posed this scenario. They said, you know, because she talks about restorative justice and all of that things. They said, just suppose that's why the PBA don't want her to be, because it's strange that they helped her. They supported her when she was in that issue, or that situation or whatever, and now they're against her. They don't want her in. But just suppose the PBA don't want her because she is about restorative justice.
That's a good point.
I'm just throwing that out there.
It's going to be interesting if she is withdrawn or withdraws. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Delgado, who's, you know, was the acting chief before? We going to open up the process? Is it going to be the young the person from Miami? I guess we'll have to find out. But I guess one of the things we need to think about is the person that might replace her better than her, and that's why we need this input.
It's going to be interesting in regards to City Council and how City Council spends this. Who continues to have a backbone and who doesn't? Orlando was very vocal about it during that meeting, and you know, tell the truth or shame the devil. In other words, y'all know y'all saying you know you want to say more about this. Don't speak nice to him out front. Talking about is it Corporal Bennett or I know John Bennett, but you know, the chief of staff. You know, tell him the truth of what you're really trying to say, right? Because everybody was nicey presenting whatever they're going to say. But it's going to be interesting whether the City Council continues to have a backbone in support of the phone calls that they're getting from the community.
I think also that as I think Pastor Coffey said earlier, talking to the Black community, that you have to come out here with your vote as a community. And his words was strictly, don't vote Mayor Castro Jane back in. You know, if this doesn't work, so there's another option. There's another way out. When she comes up running for mayor again, don't vote her in. Somehow, some way,
numerically,
our strength has to be spoken.
So numerically, if I'm correct, and somebody could correct me on this, Jane Castor didn't win any of the Black precincts during her election, and she still won.
I didn't follow that one up, so I can't say on that number.
So what are you saying? She doesn't need the
so that was told to me. I think something differently. I think that you know, people were upset about the candidates that were there. I think people sat home. I think you know, a whole lot of things. But I think that when the Black vote comes out in strength and votes in a block, a true block, and we're not picked off, because they had 5 different people running. And then the Black community was split in 5 different ways. And when it came down to she and Strass, you know, the conversation about that was crazy. So, but I know for certain, if the Black community comes out and votes in a block, we are the deciding factor. But we have to get to that stance of voting in a block.
Mayor Castor, I hope you're listening. You might want to reconsider your approach here. I think the people are speaking loud and clear that they don't appreciate the way this has been handled so far. And I guess it will remain to see how she responds. But if history is any indication, I don't see her backing off of this position. So
can I say something really quick, Paul? What I find interesting is that the time frame in which Mayor Castor served, and then the following, when she ended her time of serving, then the next year O'Connor resigned. So they were working hand in hand. This was not just someone that Mayor Jane has chosen. This was made years ago. She made this decision years ago. It's not just being made. When you go back and look at it,
retirement.
they have been together, serving together for quite some time.
They brought her out of retirement.
Yeah, makes you wonder.
And there's all kind of questions. All kind of questions during that time period. Years, and this is quickly, and this is not rumor. This is something somebody I spoke to somebody personally when I was an appraiser. I was out doing an appraisal on a police officer's house, and at that time I was the political chair of the NAACP. He wanted us to look into the police department during that time. This was maybe 10 years ago or so. He wanted us to look into the fact that the police were stacking incidents to make it seem like one. Like if a robberies happened happened throughout in one area, 10 robberies happened. They say that they were stacking the numbers to make it seem like it was one, or calculating to be one, so they can say that they lowered crime. This came from I didn't hear from anybody else. I heard it from a police officer, and I was doing that guy's appraiser, and he wanted us to look into it. So it's a lot of stuff that's going on, and a lot of unanswered questions.
Absolutely. Well, I think definitely someone needs to go back and review all the documentation from the Biking While Black that came out in the paper and everything, and the timeline of when she was assistant chief of police, or whether she was involved in that at all.
She was the assistant chief. O'Connor was the assistant chief. That just tells you a whole lot right there.
But I guess there's some question about whether she was the assistant chief when that policy was going on, but that ought to be very easy
to find
for anybody to figure out. But I think that she needs to answer for it, not in a way of I don't remember, I don't recall.
Absolutely.
But what was your position on that policy? What is your position? What was your position at the time? And what's your position now? What was your involvement? And
and even identifying what is restorative justice, explain that, and not even just identifying the past, but what do you plan on doing for the future? You were given and the thing that offended me most is that when she explained, or half explained, because Pastor Dames had to have her come in and say, no, you need to deep dive on that one. She kind of skated over what that situation was with her and the DUI and so forth. But when she explained it like, everybody gets a second chance. No, sister, you the only one get a second chance. Black people don't get a second chance like that. We ain't gonna get a second chance where HR is working for us. They downgraded the charges. We're not gonna get that. So just understanding your white privilege also is very important in this.
Well, speaking of second chances, you're going to have to get one next week, because our time is up. I want to thank Councilman Vieira again for coming on the show. Thanks for the great calls and comments on our Facebook page. And we will see you all next week on the Call for Help show. Bye.
And community, email the city council.
Amen.
Yes. Bye.